Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me over. Uh, Thanks to the organizing team and organizing committee for taking the pain in organizing this event in the pandemic time. Uh, Big thanks to Fahim sir for having me over and letting me talk to the participants over here. So very warm welcome and good afternoon from my side to everybody. I hope you have been finding a good time and enjoying yourself in this particular FDP program. So today what we will be talking about here is we will be referring to the digital data forensics, the protocols and data monitoring part. I'll be giving you a brief idea and the basics about that. So Seiji, very good afternoon. Very good afternoon to all the participants. So kindly just do let me know, ma'am, if you're able to see my screen or not.
No, sir, not yet.
Yeah, I've just shared it.
It's visible now.
That's great. That's great. Thank you, Amrina ji. Thank you very much for acknowledging. So I'll just remove this icon from this side. Right. So today, what we are talking about is one of the most talked about things these days, and very interestingly, being one of the most secured jobs around the world. So, what digital and data forensic has to offer, and what protocol structures we need to utilize. Today, I'll be just briefing about all these aspects. So it is not a basically a comprehensive talk, but a very introductory talk on these ideas. So I start with this term called as debate on these particular terms. So what is the debate happening? Is digital forensics a real scientific discipline or not? So very interesting question. And these days, even in TV series, news, even in newspapers that you or whatever you're working with, you normally see this term coming into picture. The forensic science or the forensic department and the department analyzing the anti-terror squads, whatever terms they are using, right? So digital forensics is one of the most talked about and searched about terms these days. So we'll try and answer this, and we'll try and answer this debate also, that whether this is a real scientific discipline or not. So there are three more questions to this. What is digital forensics? How do you define a scientific discipline? And does it really matter to us? So yes, we will try and answer this during the course of this particular talk. And the learning objectives of this particular, at the end of this particular session that I have discussed or I have thought about would be that we would be able to describe the science of digital forensics. We'll be able to categorize the different communities and areas within digital forensic sciences, explain where computer forensic fits into DFS or digital forensic sciences, and then describe the criminalistics. This is a very interesting term, criminalistics, as it relates to the investigative processes. Then we'll also try and discuss about the 3 A's of the computer forensic methodology, critically analyze the emerging areas of cyber criminalistics, and explain the holistic approach of the cyber forensic sciences. So it sounds a lot of things, and I would request you all, if there is any problem, any doubt, you can please switch on your mics and talk to me wherever you feel like discussing the things. So the computer forensic fundamentals is ranging, or is actually in a tree diagram. I can define it in the term of military, law enforcement, and a private sector. Right. So these all have some standards and guidelines which need to be followed. Then there are 3 things. The first part is the investigation, acquisition, analysis, examination, and the report. Similarly, criminal FRYE, FRE 702, these are some terms, I'll explain it afterwards, and then PUMHU or DOBOT, right? Similarly, you have civil federal rules, SIDONA, ROWE. Lastly, you have expert witness, friend of the court, technical expert, Everybody is involved in this, and I've referred this term as computer forensics. Right. So, on the basis of rules and evidence, the investigation done and the presentation produced in the law of code or code of law, as I should call it, everything has to be analyzed. And this analysis is initially done on the site where forensics is required, right? So if it is done correctly, then yes, you are playing a vital role in actually resolving or solving a particular problem, right? So the very first team that arrives at a crime scene or any point scene is the forensic team, right? You've heard this several times. Can you just give me one of the most talked about cases last year where you would have heard this term thousands of times in TV? Any case that comes to your mind? I'm asking all the participants. Any of the cases coming to your mind where you've seen CAA? Okay. Fine enough. Any other thing? I'll just see. Right. I'm unable to see the chat box right now. Okay, it is here. Right. Sorry. The layout has changed completely. CAA, Mehndi Mir is asking about CAA, right? Right. Okay. Any other case? There was a very high profile case coming last year where you could have seen the forensic team visiting the site several times and the media persons catching everything around. Okay, you don't remember that, we should move ahead. Yeah, I'll still name the case Sushant Singh Rajput, right? I hope everybody remembers this word, this term, and then how the media made it a huge case. Yes, right, Shubhamji, right. So you were hearing this, you were witnessing this, that the forensic team is doing, they're recreating the things, and then they're doing a lot of things on their own. So yes, so we are talking about that particular aspect only, and that is why I just before starting this particular term, I just thought I'll raise up this particular question. The term is criminalistics in nature, and then criminalistics talks about what? It is a fancy term for forensic science. Again, right? We've combined the two things: criminal aspects and then the science theory. So forensic science is basically what? The application of science to those criminals and civil laws that are enforced by police agencies. Again, it depends on country to country, right? There may be laws which are something different in a particular country, and which may amount to some objection or some punishment, but there may be countries where those laws are open and you can do whatever you want, right? So in a criminal justice system, this forensic science is basically an application, right? So this definition, you can find it at Saperstein in 2004. And then when I talk about these definitions, the very first term that comes to my mind while investigation or criminalistic investigation goes is Sherlock Holmes. You have read novels of that, you've seen movies of this, you have seen so many TV serials made out of the stories of Sherlock Holmes, and all involve the criminalistic aspects and how to resolve a particular case on the basis of the forensic search being done at the crime scene, right? So how this is very important and how this went on, there is a history to that. So history and development talks about Francis Galton in the year from the year 1822 to 1911, where first definitive study of fingerprints were done. Now these things are very important. Try and understand this. We are still using fingerprinting. We are still using it, right? Sir Arthur Conan Doyle in 1887 wrote this Sherlock Holmes mysteries, right? I don't know whether, again, there is a huge question of debate whether these are true stories or fictions or whatever you want to call them, right? Then Leon Lattice in 1887 to 1954 basically talked about blood groupings. Again, we are using it right now, blood groups being matched. Then firearms and bullet comparisons by Kelvin Goddard, right? All this led to the development of what? The forensic sciences. Albert Osborne developed the principle of document examination, right? And Hans Gross was the one who was first using scientific disciplines in criminal investigations. So if you see, all these people are talking about how to use science. It may be biological science, it may be, say, the psychological science or whatever you may call it, right? But they are using scientific things to establish facts, right? Edmund Locard was talking about principle of exchange, where the purpose of investigation was to locate and identify what? The preserved evidence data. Again, very important. We have seen so much time these days that judgments have changed because of the preserved evidence. The evidence was preserved and the case was refought and the things were changed, right? FBI in 1932 started with a lab called as National Lab to provide the forensic services to all law enforcement agencies in the country, right? So they were the first one to do it. And very interestingly, we are using this to large extent these days. Blood plus DNA, that is direct ribonucleic acid or DNA reports or whatever you may call it. So basic services that are provided by a crime lab are the physical science unit, which talks about the chemistry, the physics and the geology. Then the biological unit, which is talking about the DNA, blood, hair, fiber, blood fluids, whatever you can collect, right? Then we have a firearms unit, because normally you see the crime scene, bullets being fired or something of ammunitions being sought about, and then there is a complete firearm unit to analyze that. Then there is a document examination unit also. I don't know how many of you have seen the series called as Money Heist. Have you seen that? Every high-profile murder case has a forensic team. Yes, yes, you are right, Mohammed ji. Yes, definitely, Mohammed Shakil is right in that case. Many Meer has seen Money Heist, and I don't know how many of you more have seen this particular series. If you have seen it, it involves everything. It involves everything. All 4 seasons. That's great, Mehdi ji. you have developed the love for that particular series. Yes, that is a very interesting and very eye-catching, one of the best series available these days, I should call it. But yes, they are involving people. They have the capability to have involved people in that series, and that is why 4 seasons were launched. And again, that is an hypothetical situation, but yes, looks like very real to us, right? Again, I repeat, they are talking about what? They are talking about usage of all these things, right? So they've analyzed everything, what the agencies could do and how to evade those things, right? So document examination, I thought about that word only because document examination was the one that was done a lot in that particular series, right? Similarly, photographic unit. It has a huge importance in any of the crime labs, right? So if you see, a lot of scope is there. Again, I repeat, worldwide over, if you are a specialist in either of these, if you are a specialist in either of these, you will be getting numerous opportunities to join any of the crime labs, right? So, but you have to have something where you will be able to showcase that yes, you are able to analyze things. Now, the analytical mind is very, very important in this case, right? So, the next optional services are what? Toxicological unit or toxicology unit, as we call it, latent fingerprinting unit. We have a polygraphy test these days happening a lot in this case, where we have a polygraphy unit, voice print analysis unit, right? Evidence collection unit. Again, you talk about numerous things. All these are coming under the digital forensics sciences and the crime labs that are being established these days, right? So other forensic science services are what? Forensic pathology, where we have certain unnatural and violent deaths. So SSR can be SSR case can be actually termed under this category, sudden unnatural and violent deaths, right? Forensic anthropology, where identification of human skeletal remains are there. So you have seen numerous cases, Czechoslovakia or say uh, Czech Republic, as you call them. Numerous graves were identified and then they were analyzed with the help of forensic sciences only, that what would have been the cause of the deaths, and these graves are there, right? Forensic entomology or insects, how they behave in that. Forensic psychiatry, forensic psychology, forensic odontology, where dental things are actually checked and verified. Forensic engineering, and in turn ultimately digital forensics, right? So this was all about the history part and the criminalistics. Now I move on to the next part where we talk about digital forensic science or DFS. So the definition I've already taken it from the standard part. I'll just have a word on this, that use of scientifically derived and proven methods towards what? Towards, now these words are very important: preservation, collection, validation, identification, analysis, interpretation, documentation, and presentation. If you see, it is a very detailed structure. A presentation of digital evidence which have been derived from digital sources for the purpose of doing what? For the purpose of facilitating or further reconstruction. Again, this is what I was talking about: reconstruction of events found to be criminal. They are helping us to anticipate what? The actions that were performed that time, which were planned actions, right? And maybe they were not even planned, but the events, the occurrent time of events, right? So again, I move to the chat box, and I would like to ask a question here. See, you're witnessing a lot of these things these days, right? We are passing through a very tough time, and most of us are experiencing that the violence and the criminalistic natures of human beings have risen to a next level these days, right? So this digital forensic science basically is helping us to analyze that also. Now, this is a completely new field, new analysis that needs to be done. I just want to ask, how many of you have heard about this? We have been listening to this. We have been reading stories in the newspapers. We have been listening to all these aspects, right? How many of you have heard about this particular term? Even in Shakilji, I would like to add to that what you have written. The murder cases, high-profile murder cases, not only high-profile, but even any murder case happening around, the digital forensic team is the one that is called at the first, right? Yes. Right. So, okay, I don't think you want to answer it right now. So again, I'll move forward and then ask you another question based on this, right? So Digital Forensic Research Workshop DFRWS, which was held in 2001, gave this definition. So there are three distinct communities within digital forensic sciences, as I told you earlier in the tree diagram: law enforcement, military, business, and industry. Right? Probably the fourth can be academia. You people, we people, the academic people, how you can help in digital forensic sciences or developing the digital data, right? I'm strictly talking about forensics here, but here digital data also becomes very important. Now, because I'm relating data with forensic sciences, that is why I'm using this term digital forensic sciences, right? So digital data in any form, right now, because we are into a digital world, and this analysis of digital data becomes very important. So analysis of hard disks, right? So you have seen the raids being happening to any places and hard disks being taken away, right? Or any media storage device, right? So how to analyze that? So people try and destroy them. How you analyze those things? Destroyed ones. earlier there was a time of floppy disk. I'll just go back. So how many of you know what floppy disks were? Floppy disks. There is a term called as floppy. We were using that for storage. Right, so there was another series. I would like to mention few series over here. The series was on Harshal Mehta. I don't know how many of you have seen that. Scam. So when the raid happened in that particular series, again, what they took was, they took away all, yes, Scam 1992. Yes. Maniji, thanks for acknowledging that. Right. So in that particular scenario, they showed that they took away all the computers that they were using, and even floppy disks. They were using floppy disks that time. So there was a Discovery series also, Discovery Channel. So if you see that, they have a complete scenario of forensic research happening in different cases, and they showed a particular person who cut those floppy disks with the scissor, and then they how they uh, put together entire thing, all the cut disks together to formulate and gather the information what was stored inside it. Because he had formatted those things and then cut it into pieces. So huge task again. Now what I'm trying to tell you is data being destroyed and then being recreated. So digital forensic sciences is working closely in association with this particular term. And again, I repeat, academia is the one which can help a lot in this, because we people are into core discussion of core understanding of the subjects, right? So if you can work around and help for this, it will be a great thing. So that is why I've written possibly a fourth, that is academy. So digital forensic sciences talks about what? It talks about law enforcement, talks about homeland security, right? Talks about information warfare, military operations, business and industry, critical infrastructure protection, everything combines to this, right? So that is why I'm making this term. The community objectives are what? Primary objective is prosecution, continuity of operations, and availability of service. Secondary objective is, in this case, is prosecution. Environment is after the fact or real time in all the cases, right? So the guidelines are pretty much clear for all the digital forensic investigative processes. So it involves what? It involves all these things: identification, preservation, collection, examination, analysis, presentation, and decision. Lastly, now it depends on what decision you take, because you have done the analysis, right? So I'll just move ahead. In this case, subcategories of DFS are what? Media analysis, code analysis, network analysis. Now, when I talk about all these things, I'm referring indirectly to what? I've been referring indirectly to data. It can be in any form. Now, that is why we're talking about data processing or data analyzing or data analysis and data scientists, right? So the most paid about jobs these days is what? Data scientists. Examining what? Media analysis is talking about what? We are examining physical media for evidence, review of software and malicious signatures. This is code analysis. Network analysis is what? Scrutinize network traffic and logs to identify what? To identify and locate, right? So this is the one that we are doing. Media analysis is what may often be referred to as computer forensics. So again, all these CS engineers or persons who are into coding are very, very important in this case. More accurate to call it media analysis, as it is focusing mainly on hard drives, RAMs, flash memories, PDAs, diskettes, etc. It is excluding network analysis, right? It is not there. I just wanted to tell you that network analysis is not a part of media analysis in this case. Computer forensics in the scientific examination is what? It is basically analysis of data held or retrieved from what? Retrieved from computer storage media. As I told you in those series, they have shown they are retrieving information from the hard disk and the floppy drives, right? So in such a way that information can be used as evidence. Very important. You might have the information, but it has to be utilized as evidence, right? So that has to be proved. So very huge role is there of computer forensics in this case. So the activities of computer forensics are what? The secure collection of computer data, the identification of suspected data, the examination of that suspected data and determining details such as origin and content, presentation of computer-based information to the court of law, and lastly, the application of country's law to computer practice, right? So everything has to be taken into consideration, and then only the evidence can be actually taken forward for in the court of law. You get this now? Any doubts still here? Anything you want to ask before I move to 3A's? Very important, these 3A's are. Any doubts? I hope my voice is still coming clearly to all of you. Madam, is my voice audible to everybody? If you are there and you are able to hear me.
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. Thank you
Yes,
very
sir,
much
you
for
are
acknowledging.
audible.
Great. Thank you very much. So, is there any doubt, any question that you want to ask?
No, sir.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. So we move ahead. We move ahead to 3A's. The 3A's of basic methodology that we will be talking about and utilizing in again data analysis is acquire. The very first thing is acquire. Second thing is authenticate, and the third one is analyze or analysis. Right. So acquire is what we acquire the things, the evidence, without any alteration and damaging to them. Authentication. Yes, the images have to be authenticated and then you analyze the data. So normally these days, we have seen so many scams in the country also. Tehelka was one of the most popular ones that you see, where analysis of voice samples were done to make sure that the voice matches to the person that they are targeting, right? So there are so many examples that you can off lately see for where the polygraphy tests have been conducted and the voice samples have been targeted or taken for particular purpose, right? So the 3A's are basically acquire, authenticate, and analyze. And for computer forensic history starts from FBI 1984, the computer analysis and response team that they developed in the name of CARD, right? So this was the very first thing that comes to our mind. So the computer analysis and response team. 1991, the international the law enforcement meeting was taken to discuss the computer forensics and need to standardize this approach, right? To be utilized everywhere. 1997, the Scientific Working Group on Digital Evidence, that is SWGDE, established this to develop standards. Like you see IEEE standards, right? So that a switch or a cable or a computer structure is always same for everywhere. So similarly, there are standards for collecting digital evidences. So 2001 Digital Forensic Research Workshop, from where I took the definition, DFRWS was also conducted and development of research roadmap was formulated in this. 2003, no standards developed or corpus knowledge, but they had decided for that, but it was not done. Now what happens? The context of computer forensics lies in this. Homeland security, the information security, corporate espionage, white collar crime, child pornography, traditional crime, incident response, employee monitoring, privacy issues, and additions to them. Similarly, what you have is how digital forensics is playing a big role in this and how computer forensics combines with digital forensics to provide all these things. You get this now? So all these things will be utilized, but the major part is that you have computer forensics combined with the digital forensics to provide you this solution. Right. Fit with information assurance is the one that you see. That computer forensics is part of what? It is the part of the incident response capability. Forensic, that is a friendly procedure and processes are followed. Proper evidence management and handling is done. And IR is what? It is an integral part of the IR. It is the incident response basically that we are talking about, right? So what is incident response methodology? Now this is the one that is important to us. So the incident response methodology is basically talking about preparation, detection, containment, analysis, eradication, recovery, and follow-up. Once the follow-up is done, a feedback is given. So the evidence management talks about first how to prepare the things, how to detect them, then containment zone, analysis, eradication, recovery, and then the last part is follow-up. So it is called as PDCAERF. Right. Pronounce it like this. PDCAERF. Preparation means being ready to respond, procedures and policies, resources at CSIRT creation, and current vulnerabilities and countermeasures. Detection involves what? Detection involves determining if an incident or attempt has been made. The IDS part, the initial actions or reactions, determining the scope and reporting the processes. The containment part talks about what? Limit the extent of an attack, mitigate the potential damage and loss, and containment strategies. Now, when I talk about limit the extent of attack, there is another series that comes to our mind of lately, very recently. Right. I don't know how many of you have seen this, season 1 and 2. Again, I'm referring to a lot of series these days because we are watching only series, no movies coming around, right? Yeah. So Shubham ji, Deepti ji is saying clearly, that's great. So how many of you Pulwama attack? Yes, that is one of the yes recent examples. You are very right, sir. Mehdi ji, you are very right. Pulwama was decoded with digital forensics. Yes, the mobile phone was the one that was used as evidence. Now, Family Man talks about a similar aspect where they were decoding the attack to be held on the probable Prime Minister, and then how effectively the militants were working very parallel to them, right? So yes, in the series they showed that they were able to do it, and then the forensic team played a huge role in that particular part. So the best part that you see in anywhere these days is mobile location, finding out mobile location, right? So there is a complete science involved in this. How do you do it? We have different apps also where you can use and identify the mobile location of a particular friend. But there is a technique where you can find out mobile location for anybody. Right. So I hope you are following what I'm trying to say and why this is very important these days. We are talking about a topic which is touching each aspect of our daily lives these days. Do you get this? Again, I would wait for some answers. Yes or no? As soon as I leave, yes, Mehdi is talking. Yes, he's got it. That's great, sir. Rajkumar Sani ji, thank you very much for acknowledging. Yes, that's good. So you are understanding why this particular term is so important for us, and why we have to have a basic knowledge about this, right? You might not be from the forensic team, but you still have to have some knowledge about it. So that is why these programs are very beneficial for us. So try and analyze this. Analysis and tracking. Now this is very important. Analysis and tracking. How incident occurred. This is what has to be analyzed. More in-depth analysis of the event, and then tracing the incident back to its source. Alright, so this is what needs to be done. So eradication, repair and recovery is the last part. We are recovering the systems, getting rid of the causes of the incident, vulnerabilities of the residue, that is rootkits, Trojan horses, etc., are hurt. Now again, you see many ransomwares, you heard about them. Right, I'll just write about it. Ransomwares. Again, they are talking about shielding the data, and then asking money in the form of what? Cryptocurrencies, right? Again, this is digital. Everything involved is digital here. They demand cryptocurrencies in the form of digital currencies, and then they release the data, right? So this is another problem that we are facing these days: hardening of the system and then dealing with the patches, right? So the last part is follow up. This is very important. Once a case has been resolved, you need to follow up the things, review the incident, how it was handled, post-mortem analysis, lessons learned, and then follow-up reporting. This will lead to the feedback, right? The feedback is then given to the first stage so that the persons who are working in a newer case get help out of it, right? So Eric Holder, which is Deputy Attorney General of the US Subcommittee on Crime of the House Committee, gave a very interesting Senate committee, in a Senate committee on criminal oversight, talked about this. The technical challenges that hinder law enforcement's ability to find and prosecute criminals operating online, legal challenges, and also the resource challenges. So he was talking about different challenges that the agency faces. Right. So how these can be resolved and how investigation and cyber crimes or other things can be effectively handled. Now this is the work that we all need to do. So NIJ study also talks about that there is a near-term window of opportunity for law enforcement, right? For the gain of what? For the gain of foothold in containing electronic crimes. We are facing this a lot these days, electronic crimes, like forgery in the credit cards or debit cards that we are using, and somebody is stealing money from our account and we are not doing it right. So these are some of the things that we normally see these days, right? Most state and local law enforcement agencies report lack of adequate training, equipment, and staff, right? So even if you file a case, these things hinder the process. So to ensure that these things are working properly, we must invest into the adequate training and equipment of this particular agency, which is dealing with what? Which is dealing with the analysis of the evidence, right? Greater awareness, again I repeat, these kind of courses also help in that. Greater awareness of individuals, the stakeholders, being prosecutors, the judges, the academia, industry, general public, very, very, very important. If we are aware, we'll ourselves be able to save the things, right? So the general challenges are what? Computer forensics basically is in its infant right now, different from other forensic sciences. No real basic theoretical background is there. No two true professional designations are there. Proper training has to be there. At least 3 different communities with different demands work together, and still it is a folk art than a true science. That is why the question was raised whether this is a true science or not. Right? So we are involving many people together, many communities together. And the person who is a master in a particular thing is called. Why I talked about the series, The Family Man, because they are working in different departments and they are called. Right? Somebody is very good in detecting bombs. He's called from that bomb. Right? Come over here. Join us. So there is no proper training for this, but yet specialized people form a group. Right? What are the legal challenges? Yes, there are. Status as scientific evidence, criteria for admissibility of novel scientific evidence, right? Whether the theory or technique has been reliably tested, whether theory technique has been subject to peer reviews, or potential rate of error used in actually measuring the things. Then whether the theory is generally accepted by the scientific communities or not, or technical knowledge, how much technical knowledge is involved or utilized in this. And then what are the specific challenges? There are no international definitions. No international agreements or extradition. We have seen of lately another case, extradition. Mehul Choksi. Do you remember that? Any other case that comes to your mind? You can switch on your mics and talk. Any other case coming to your mind? Still waiting for some answers. The liquor baron, Kingfisher. Do you remember that person?
Punjab National Bank.
Yeah, PNB. Yes, PNB scam. The liquor baron. Who was he? Extradited. Still waiting to be extradited from UK.
Vijay Mallya, sir.
सर माल्या
Yeah,
केस है, नीरव मोदी केस है.
right. Yes. So there is no extradition treaties. We are not able to do it. So this is a bigger challenge, right? So people hide in different countries. They do crimes in different countries. They hide in different countries, right? So this is another bigger challenge that we are facing. Multitude of operating systems and file systems we are working with, right? Incredibly large storage capacity of 100 giga plus terabytes. SANs is required, right? So yes, these are challenges, and we are bound to remove these challenges also with time. But the point is, again, I would request you all to be very, very aware about what is happening around. I'm talking about very latest things happening around us, and we must always see that why this has happened. The question has to be there, right? Small footprint storage devices like compact flash, memory sticks, thumb drives, securing digital things, networked environments. Somebody using your own Wi-Fi for a particular crime, you will be held responsible for that. So how to secure this, right? Very, very important. So again, everything is involving data, right? So if you analyze what we are talking about, is we are talking about a very, very new interesting term over here, and we all want that we should be safe enough in this case, right? And nobody should actually make basically the use of our expertise or frame us in different fashions. RAID systems, grid computing, there are so many. There are so many. You talk about anything and everything is there, right? So where is the crime scene? Yes, the specific challenges are perpetrator systems and victim systems. So you have to find out a midway path between them, right? So this is the challenge. What constitutes evidence and what we are looking for is another challenge, right? So everything that we have discussed here is referring to some kind of a challenge. These are some of the questions that we need to ask ourselves. In the last part of this particular scenario, DFS is basically subdivision or sub-discipline of criminalistics. It is a relatively new science where three communities, legal, military, and private sector, are involved. DFS is primarily investigative in nature and is made up of what? Media analysis, code analysis, and network analysis. Right. Computer forensics is again what? A sub-discipline within DFS. Again, very important. Computer forensic science or computer forensic engineers. It is a part of IR capability. 3 A's of computer forensic methodology need to be understood. There are many journal and specific challenges that we need to identify. And there is a lack of basic research in this area which has to be compensated for. So both digital forensic sciences or data forensic sciences you can call and computer forensic sciences are immature and very, very emerging areas. AICT has identified it as one of the emerging areas also. Even different agencies, DSP, etc. Right. So right now, this was it from my side. I would come back to the room and ask for a few questions, and then I'll go to the protocols also. Okay, great. Julian Assange, I forgot the name. Maniji, thank you for giving. So he is one of the I don't know how many of you know him, Julian Assange. So he is the founder for Wikipedia, WikiLeaks, right? And he has been taking refuge in different countries just because he was exposing the governments. So he's trying to run away from those things. He was according to the law of US, he was violating them. Right, right. You are. Maniji, thank you very much for adding that name to the list. So, any questions still here? You were talking about digital data and digital forensics over here, and I would request you to please tell me if you have any questions up till here. Anything you would like to share or say? So a small break just to have some water and then discuss the things to you. Madam, how much more time do I have for the same?
Sir, you continue as much as you.
Okay. Okay. That's great. So now the next part that I will try and show you is the protocols and the concepts related to data monitoring. And as I told you, we were talking about data forensics, and then we have to definitely talk about the protocols to be utilized in this. So we start with the internet. What is the internet? A decade ago, it was looking like this, right? So if you see, the picture talks about certain things, right? We started with this kind of a structure over here, right? And then suddenly everything got connected with the internet. Everything. You see all the pictures over here, everything is connected with the internet. Now you cannot imagine any application working without internet also. This is the dependence that we have had with this terminology, right? I hope everybody is able to see this screen, right? So why real information is so important, or why real data is so important, information, data, whatever you call it. Why it is so important? Because you have to process things, you have to enable new knowledge, you have to prevent failures, you have to improve or protect health sector, very, very important these days, right? You have to enhance the safety and security, increase the comfort. So data is playing a huge role. Now, how this data is moving, how this productivity is increasing, right? So we'll talk about some enabling technologies that came into existence, and then how they helped us, right? Have a look. Very first one, microcontroller. We developed these kind of devices, right? I hope everybody has recognized this. We utilized microwave ovens, the cars, the video games, right? The weighing machines, temperature monitoring, flash storage. Yes, we are using it right now also. We're using the USB drive for us. Then came the radio communication. This is very, very revolutionizing, right? 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, the 802.15.4 protocol. And then what it led to was the transistors, the ICs coming into picture, and then combining everything into a single structure, right? So just go back again, right? Just have a look. Everything was there. Now we combine them together. This is the enabling technology that we are using, combined with a network. Right now, what protocols are we using, and what are the things that we have to use? The layered structures we all know, diverse object data models which are using HTML, XML way beyond now. FTP, Telnet, again these are also gone. HTTP, still we are using it. Transport layer protocols, that is UDP IP, TCP IP. We're using it very effectively these days. Link protocols, and then these ones: Ethernet, Token Ring, Wi-Fi, WiMAX, right? I can write more. Bluetooth, whatever you want to write. GPRS, 802. I've already written 15.1.4.3. So these are different protocols, right? That you see, right? So 802.15.4 question mark. What will come out? Reading internet research perspective, a decade ago, talked about resource constraints that may cause us to give up the layered structure, sheer number of devices, and their unattended deployment, right? Then a significant robustness and scalability of the advantages to designing applications using localized algorithms. And unlike the traditional networks, the sensor nodes may need an identity or an address, right? We are working with them, wireless sensor nodes, networks, right? So we were wrong in all these cases because we are utilizing all these things effectively. The Moto or the tiny operating system revolution came into picture. Have a look. Have a look what happened. Right? Smartest Rene, Intel, Nokia, Motorola, Dust Networks, Senicast, you name any. Low PAN networks, IPv6 protocol, right? So these are some of the things that came into existence and then revolutionized the internet things. And then we came to a term called as Internet of Everything. It was realized in 2008. I came to know after almost 6 to 7 years. We are talking about Internet of Everything. World is talking about it, right? So we were only talking about IoT. What it is talking about footprint, power packet size, bandwidth, and open versions of 27K or 4.6K. So everything is placed in this chart. I'll share the slides with you. Internet of Everything standardized in 2010, and then Zigbee Alliance was made, and Zigbee became a popular thing for everybody. So home automation was using it very effectively, right? Then networking in physical world, again, I've just shown you application requirements where embedding in physical space, large number of nodes. Again, everything requires protocols. So these protocols were the ones or the standards that were being laid by IEEE, right? Low power wireless sensors where we talk about low SNR, multi-hop, limited routing structures, limited throughput, limited buffering, right? Then the Confluence Research, industry and standards, which were talking about all these, and IEEE played a huge role in this, right? So key research developments were what? Framework for building ideal listening and reliable routing on low power and lossy links, right? So trickle don't flood is one of the things that we have always been following, so there is no problem in discussing. This is an important part, Tiny OS, a framework for innovation where storage, wireless processing and sensors were. Now have a look over this particular thing, what we'll do. What I am trying to show you through this diagram. Just have a look. Sensors, that is ADC sensor, IF sensor, streaming drivers, giving it to scheduling management, MCU timers, the data moving to this point, right? Everybody can see this. The next part is, once scheduling is done, management is done, it is given to the next part, that is the block, logs and files, right? Or it is given through the network protocol layer. You can all see that. The newest aspect that we heard about was the over-the-air programming part. So you can all see this. So it is getting filled up, you can see, and then transmitted. So this is the complete structure. This is the complete structure of Tiny OS framework for innovation. I hope everybody is able to see this. This is coming from Hello.
Yes, sir. We can hear you now.
Is my voice audible?
Yes, it's audible now.
Okay. Thank you, Shubhamji. Thank you for acknowledging things. I'm sorry I got disconnected. I'm sorry. Uh, so we were talking about the protocols that are being utilized in the present day scenario. Showed you. Were you able to see this slide?
Yes, sir.
Right. So the low power networking in real world was monitored is being monitored by all these protocol structures, as you can see it over here. You can very well see all the protocols here, monitored by IEEE, the standardized 802.15.4, 802.15.1.3, 802.11, 802.3. Right. So we are moving in this direction: LAN, WLAN, WPAN, then WPAN again, and then this. So it is cable replacement happening, low power, large scale, low cost, right? So you can very well see the development in all the protocols being standardized by, again, I repeat, IEEE protocols, and then the standards are given in this scenario over here, right? So all of you can very well see what we are referring to over here. So decade of networking sense architecture talked about application transport network and link layers and these protocols being developed. So with the help of these protocols, we were able to connect everything and then analyze the data. Again, I repeat, analyze. Why these two talks are linked? The analysis of data is dependent on everything, right? So the ideal listening problem, the power consumption, etc. Radio must be on. These problems are basically being resolved by the newer protocols, and energy consumption you reduce, right? So communicative power analysis, this is how it is done. You can very well see this. You've already seen this in communication networks. Listen just when there is something to hear, and then we save power. We make buildings green, right? So this is why I've just used the green color. Three basic solutions is scheduled listening, sample listening, and listen after send. There are many hybrids also possible. Again, IEEE gave this standard 802.15.3e. You can very well see this. Routing in low power wireless networks can also be done. Now this is how self-organizing networks. Now this is the one. You can see this. I'll just show you. Just have a look what would happen. So this is the network 0. We started with 0, 1, 1. It's connected now. Then the network comes into existence. And now it is self-organizing. Now I'm not playing any clicks. It is self-organizing. Right? It is self-organized. And now how will the data travel? Have a look. The shortest path would be automatically analyzed. Right? So this is how the protocols and algorithms come into picture while we are processing or while we are talking about data processing in this case. So IPv6 has a lot of things to contribute. I'm not going into details of this. Right? We have already had 1 to 128 bytes maximum, but we can extend it now. There are so many algorithms where we will extend it after this, beyond this. So 6 low, the PAN adaptation layer is also being utilized where we have all these protocol structures, and 802.15.4 is the low PAN part that we are using. These are the header structures. I'm not going into the details of this, but how they are being utilized. This is the internal structure, how data is being processed inside the machines now, right? So IPv6 is connecting. It is always on, reliable, and broadcasting the domain, right? So IPv6 can support a semi-broadcast? No, it cannot. So this is the only problem, right? So auto configuration, what are the examples over here? And hop, the network ID, the sequence number, router hops, right? So these are some of the examples. I cannot explain it in one go over here, but yes, I can show you the slides right now to ensure that you people know, because most of you are, I assume, are from computer engineering. You already know them, where the application layer talks about all these aspects. The transport layer is talking about the protocol structure. The network layer is talking about establishing the link and the network and then allowing the things to happen, right? So we are adding up pieces together to formulate a complete protocol structure and to reduce the consumption of the power. Right. So what has changed with role in this case is, I'll just skip this particular part. This is a detailed explanation of the role part. Yes, now the part. The killer app for WSC. Now this is the important part, the wireless sensor networks and the energy. Right. So energy and environment impact of extraction and use of disposal is the important part. The problem of the industrial age is this: we need to find information age solutions to the industrial age problem, and then fundamentally transformation of the entire thing into the electric grid. So this is how it is done. So generation, transmission, distribution, and demand. The power comes into picture. The green energy comes into picture. Analysis of the data is again very, very important. Whatever we are doing, data is coming. We have to communicate through different protocols, the protocols that we have seen, and analyze the entire communication structure. Right. So this has to be done in local formation. Awareness about cooperative grids. Yes. In using it, we establish a solar plant on a rooftop and send the generated electricity to the say the grid itself directly, and the bill that comes is subtracted out of it. Right. So we are using it. We are using the corporate structure in all the things. Right. Similarly, we have a macroscope where we observe complex interactions over time. And so I have already shown you these images. Now I am analyzing all the images on the base of the data information. Right. So this is where computer science engineer or data analysis comes into picture. Where to start? Yes, buildings is one of the things that you can start with. Where coal is used, what is the primary target, right? Our buildings are like this. Energy consumption is huge in these buildings. How to reduce that? I'll show you a very interesting example. Have a look. Energy transparent building. Have a look over this. This is the central vent. This is the office HVAC area. This is the DOP HVAC card. Right? This is where servers are. If you see, lightning consumption in these type of buildings is so reduced. Right? So you are able to plug holes in between. So these protocols, when combined with the direct analysis of the data and the power of the internet, right, would help us go beyond our limits and analyze the things, right? So there are so many examples. I'm not showing you everything over here. There are so many examples that I have made in this particular aspect. I'm just moving forward for the cyber and physical buildings over here, right? So this is how things are being collectively combined together to formulate the things. Internet of Things is everywhere, here, everywhere, and 15 years of deep innovation and research has led into development of these kind of structures, right? So that's it from my side. I might have been a little quicker in this explanation, but the protocols basically that we discussed need to be studied rather than basically being thought about. So you have to study them before implementing the things into the sensor network system, right? So now I'm open for the questions over here. If you have any doubts, any questions, you're most welcome. Stop presenting the screen right now. Right. So any doubts, any questions that you have, most welcome. Please do tell me. I hope you are still able to hear me clearly.
Sir, I want to ask.
Yes, ma'am.
We have like firstly we used to have DNA fingerprinting, and then there are other
Right.
things we can use for forensics, like to identify a person. Other than that,
Right.
like nowadays we don't authenticate DNA fingerprinting that much because we say like it can be faked and all. As have been seen in many other cases, it was reported. So, sir,
Right.
can there be something that can be like that can be accepted as an authentic, forensic that one we can rely on, and the one that cannot be kind of just faked.
All right, so there are many things. Thank you for asking this question. There are many things that you can use in authentication, and they are very authentic. Nobody would challenge that. As you rightly said, that DNA fingerprinting was challenged. But in the case of dental, the teeth or the bone, or the say when you take out a skull out of the, the body, right? So those things, or even a hair analysis, they are not challenged. So if they match, they are treated to be matched 100%, right? So that is why I'm saying there are so many fields involved inside it, right? So a chemical engineer can also come into picture in this case. So yes, DNA sequencing cannot be challenged, but fingerprinting is definitely some problem has happened, and that is why there is rethinking happening on that particular aspect. But yes, your retina scan cannot be matched, or it cannot be replicated, right? So if it is matched, then it is matched. So there are so many things. But again, what you can use in that particular scenario is what you have to analyze as an data scientist or a cyber forensic engineer, right? I hope I hope I was able to answer that.
Yes, sir. Yes, I got. If anyone
Thank
else
you.
has questions, you just
Right. So
is someone having any
that's it
question?
from my side.